Welcome everyone to Now Faith is TV, where faith, books, and business collide. I am your host, entrepreneur, many times author, Dr. Paulette Harper, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Now Faith is TV. And so we are here talking about how faith intertwines with our business and a little bit about me. I am a nonfiction self-publishing coach for professional business women, leaders, coaches, and founder of One Story University and Coaching Academy. For over 2 decades, I've been coaching women through the power of storytelling. My clients hire me to assist them package their expertise and experience by publishing best-selling books that builds their authority and creates a profitable business for their books. In today's episode, we have an amazing guest, Gwendolyn Tucker. She has a mission and a passion to help women bridge that gender pay gap. We're going to hear more about her vision, her mission, and what she's doing, and how she is really being a trailblazer in this industry. So welcome, Gwendolyn. I wanted to call you Dr. Gwendolyn. Welcome to the platform here. Welcome to Now Faith Is. Can you introduce who you are to us today?
Yes, and thank you so very much, Dr. Paulette, for inviting me on to share and be here with you today and with your listeners and your viewers. My name is Gwendolyn Tucker, and I am coming to you from the beautiful city of Memphis in the state of Tennessee. If you haven't been here, would love to have you come. I am founder of Scale Your Pay Academy, as well as ZAP, the Gender Pay Gap podcast, which is what we will be talking about in more detail today. So I reside here in the Memphis area with my husband, Ricky Tucker. He is actually my Boaz and my best friend. And so I'm very thankful to be joining you today.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us. So let's just dive on in about your mission, about bridging the gap with women when it comes to gender pay gap. Where did this inspiration come? And give us a little background to your history, how you became, a spokesperson for women when it comes to gender pay gap.
Absolutely. I have actually, all of my corporate was in paper manufacturing. And during my time in paper manufacturing, I was involved in diversity and inclusion efforts, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And actually, once I left corporate after about 25 years, I have actually been consulting with companies around DEI in that space. And we've made great headwinds in some cases with diversity, which is getting women and people of color to the table and visible in the organization, and even on inclusion. But when we think about equity, specifically pay equity, there are challenges, and that pernicious gender pay gap, it still exists, where consistently women earn less than men in the workplace. And so one of the things as I thought about this and was showing people how to scale their pay, when it came to women, what I realized is that one of the ways to scale their pay is to close their gender pay gap, right? And when I call it the elephant in the room, and that elephant is managing to stick its trunk into the paycheck for women in the workplace and taking out, in some cases, 18% or more, right, of their pay. And so the gap is around 18%, and consistently women earn approximately 82% of what men earn in the workplace. And so I thought, how wonderful would it be to show women who are caught and trapped in that gender pay gap how to close that gap, but also how to springboard and scale their pay. So that's kind of how it came about in terms of where I am today. And I've created a podcast of ZAP, the Gender Pay Gap.
Awesome. And so how has it been, how has it been on this journey that you've been able to connect with women? Have they been, what's their census of, you assisting them as an expert in this industry to help them move forward on their jobs?
The first response is typically women are unaware. A lot of times, many women are unaware of that, what is called the female to male ratio, pay ratio, earnings ratio of 82%. And so many times they're shocked, right? They're shocked and like, oh man, is that true? Right. And
Mm,
then to be able to say, how can I find out if I'm caught or trapped in that gap? And
mhm,
so many times it's, hey, yeah, this is, there, it's great to hear that news. How do I close
mhm,
that gap? And what can I do? And how do I get the word out? And so that has been my experience.
mhm.
And pay is an emotionally loaded term. There's a lot of emotions around pay and money, right?
Yeah,
So oftentimes, some people feel uncomfortable talking about pay.
yeah,
But this basically, it says, hey, it's okay to talk about pay. And actually, it's important that you talk about pay and not only talk about it to make sure that you're not caught in that trap of that gender pay gap.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, um, how does faith play a major role in what you're doing, and even in your own life, and really play a major role in how you move your initiative forward to help women?
Mhm. Well, in a couple ways, and I would just say on a personal note, I was very fortunate in my days in corporate that I had mentors and sponsors who who wanted to be fair, and they wanted to ensure that I was paid equitably. But I know that everyone doesn't have that, right?
Yeah.
And when I talk to women about how to go after your fortune, the way I phrase it is fortune is equal F to the third power. It
Mm,
takes three F's. One is, first of all, is faith, right? Is that you have to have faith that not only is it worth it, but that you're worth it. Women work hard for our money. And so we might as well take home all of it, right?
yeah.
That's what I say. So that's around that faith that we are worth it, it's worth it, and we're worth it. The second is around fortitude. It takes courage, right? It takes a fierceness and a fearlessness to be able to pursue and go after your fortune, of going after something that's rightfully yours. And then the other piece is it takes facts, right?
Mhm.
Feelings are not going and saying, I feel like I need a pay raise, is really is not going to work. But being able to go armed with facts. And so what I do is work with women to show them, how do you build up your confidence, right? How do you build up your courage so that you can go after and find out how much, or if you're caught in the gap, but also how do you close that gap? And one of the things I also think about as women who are being underpaid and paid less than their male counterparts for equal work, then what happens is it affects that woman, it
Mhm.
affects her family, and it affects everyone who's connected with her. And so, as it relates to faith, I was just reading in Psalms 27:14 this morning, and it talked about the fact that to be brave and stout hearted. And to be
Mhm.
able to go after and determine. I love David. I've been reading some stories about David when he was going out to pursue an enemy. And he would go to the Lord and consult and say, God, should I pursue? Are you going to
Yeah.
help me defeat my enemies?
Yeah.
And the Lord said, yes, I'm going to go with you and I'm going to help you defeat your enemies. And so as we go out to be able to claim and to take back that which is ours, it does take faith. It takes fortitude and it does take facts, but it takes faith first.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So let's talk about your podcast. Yeah, congratulations on that. Let's talk about your podcast and what you are really hoping to achieve by launching your podcast.
Absolutely. I don't know if you've heard this story about the starfish, but there was a story that was written about the starfish, and there are starfish drawn along the beach, right? And so this little boy goes out with his grandpa, and they're looking along the beach, and the grandpa picks up one of the starfish and tosses it back into the water, and the little boy is like, Grandpa, all of these starfish that are out here, they can hardly, there's no way that you can make a difference or impact with this. And the grandpa picks up one and he says to this one, and he
Hmm.
tosses it back into the water, into the ocean. He says to this one, it makes all the difference in the world. And so my hope on my podcast is to expose the elephant that's in the room, really to do three things. To expose the elephant that's in the room, right? And to disclose some pertinent facts about it, but also to identify and show women how to close their gap. Because there are two pieces of this. One is on the decision maker side. So there are people who are making decisions around pay equity and how pay is aligned within organizations. But then there are also the women who are caught and trapped in that gender pay gap. And so my goal here is to educate women, but also not just to educate them with the facts or the problem, but to be a solution for the problem. Because
Mm,
my mission in life is to leave each person in place better than I found them. And
mm,
my personal belief is that if I bring a problem to you, I
mm.
also need to bring a solution with it that's workable for you to be able to solve that problem. And so that helps me fulfill my mission of leaving each person in place better than I found them.
That is wonderful. You know, one of the things you said was if you're going to reveal a problem,
Mhm.
then it's up to you to solve the problem. And a lot of times we share about what a problem is with someone, but we don't bring the solution. And
Mhm.
so, if we're going to tell a person what the problem is, they're going to look for us to bring the solution as well, you know. And so, I think that it's really great that you're offering twofold. You're showing them what the problem is, and then you're showing them how to solve that problem. And so, when you think about this industry and how the pay gap is so different between men and women, and even cultures, races, and whatnot. And so, how do you speak to women, because a lot of women are afraid? They know they're worth it, they know they deserve it, but how do you even speak to the fear and their courage to believe it and then go and act on it?
Mhm. A couple things, I share with people. I say now, and once I've revealed this to them, I say, now I'm not encouraging you to go into the workplace and go ask your coworkers, how much did you make? How much do you make? Or, kind of bogart your way into your boss's office and say, hey, I am I'm being underpaid and that piece. So my recommendation is that I go kind of that Sherlock Holmes. I go do some research, go in
Mm,
and take a look. For instance, I share with women, let's start with where you are. Let's talk about, first of all, what's your relationship with your boss? Do you have a good workable and working relationship with your supervisor? Secondly, do you actually even know what your pay scale is? Because
mm,
for every position there is a pay scale. For every job and rating, there is a pay scale. And the question is, so where are you relative to your performance? Because at the end of the day, to be able to go and research and get some facts about where you are, that's going to arm you for the conversation. So
mm,
my recommendation is that you go prepared. The other thing too is that this can feel very risky, right?
mhm.
Because
Yeah,
if you go in and have this conversation, and depending on, like, my natural personality is that I really don't like conflict, right?
yeah,
But and I don't like to rock the boat, right? But the reality is, if I don't pursue going after what's mine, that means I and those who are connected with me suffer, right?
mm,
And so the real deal is, let's find out if I'm caught in the gap. If so, by how much? And so now, how do I go about having the conversation
mm,
where the fortitude piece is very important? Because do you remember the little train? Growing up, there was a little train, and it would go forward, and you come back, and it'd go forward and come back until it got a path to be able to travel, right? And so I really encourage women, first of all, to own their own feelings about this, right? And where they are, own their own feelings and thoughts around having the conversation. But the other piece is being prepared. It's so
yeah.
critical, being prepared.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So after you share this with women, so let's talk about that. So what are the avenues that you share this? I know you have your podcast that you share, but what other means of media do you use to get the word out about what you are doing?
Mhm. A couple ways. I am very active on LinkedIn, And if someone might want to follow up with me on LinkedIn, they're more than happy to be able to do that. But on LinkedIn, I also have some other social media streams in which I do advertise through email, those kinds of things with my audience. But LinkedIn is where I'm very active. I did recently launch this podcast, and just to get to the word out and to share with people. And I do host webinars, so to be able to have a deeper discussion about this, because on a podcast, my podcast is around 12 to 15 minutes long, and so it's really exposes the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
But on webinars, and then I work with women to show them how to close their gender pay gap in terms of how to take steps so that they can move forward and be able to advocate for themselves, because that's really the big piece, is how to negotiate and how to advocate to be able to close your gender pay gap.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, as we're moving forward to or moving through this interview, and we want to make sure that women know how to connect with you, because I realize, and just like you realize that there are so many other women who don't know that they are entitled to really go in and get their own bag, whatever level that is on their job. So tell us, how can someone connect with you? I know you mentioned LinkedIn. How can women, connect with you so that you can really help them move forward and give them the tools, the resources, and the value that they need for themselves to go in and, address this very sensitive issue when it comes to money?
Absolutely. And thank you very much for that. Yeah, so you can reach out to me at gwendolynjtucker.com is where you can reach out to me, and also search for ZAP, the gender pay gap. That's my mission and goal, to show women how to zap their gender pay gap. And then, of course, I mentioned on LinkedIn. So those are ways in which viewers can reach out to me for more information and to hear more about what I'm doing around the gender pay gap and showing women how to close it.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Gwendolyn, for being on Now Faith is TV, where faith, books, and business collide. I am your host, Dr. Paulette Harper, and I'm excited about this platform because I'm bringing some amazing, amazing men and women on this platform to talk about how faith is the foundation of what they do in their ministry, in their businesses, and even as authors when they write books. And so until the next episode, this is Dr. Paulette Harper saying peace.